Hi everyone, this is Victoria from the Cheeky Care Charitable Trust here. Please forgive the poor quality of this video. I'm not really set up for this kind of thing. I am just here to show you a brief overview of our plans for Spooky Spring 2019 and hopefully Spooky Springs going forwards. Our main idea is that we want to build a sort of trick-or-treating village so the kids can go door knocking. We're using the theme The Greek Underworld as the basis for our idea, because it combines two elements that are really important in New Zealand, which is the spooky and the spring. As you may know, in Greek mythology, the god of the underworld is married to the goddess of spring, which makes it perfect for what we're looking at doing. But there's more about that in our documentation, which you're welcome to. In the meantime, let me show you. I've created a mock-up of the event in Second Life, which is a virtual reality platform, so that I can show you a rough idea of what our plans are. On the screen in front of me you can see the layout. We're going to be set up in a 10 by 20 marquee, and we've got 10 little trick-or-treating rooms where the kids can go in and knock on the door. But let me jump in and show you what's going on. Okay, now this is a mock-up of our tent. It's very basic. Threw it together and well, actually it took me about 2 weeks, but I'll pretend I threw it together overnight. So at the entrance here we've got curtains on either side, or backdrops where kids can take photos. We'll have two actors here dressed up as Hades and Persephone, the king and queen of the underworld. Here the kids will be met by a person dressed as Charon, who is the ferryman in Greek mythology. He basically looks like a Grim Reaper. So it'll just be someone who is dressed in a robe. This is a I just saw all I could find to stand in for him. But Sharon will meet the kids here. He's dressed in a black robe with his face and hands painted like skulls, but he's just an actor who is there to make sure the kids don't destroy anything, don't get lost, don't get too scared, etc. So they move through this curtain here into the trick-or-treating area, following the footsteps here. This area along the wall here will be hung with a backdrop of some kind. We have not decided on it yet. This graveyard scene with the spooky forest beside it is just a mock-up that I grabbed off the internet to give us an idea of what's going to be here. We have not decided yet. We have a company who does custom backdrops for quite cheaply. Relatively cheaply, so we can basically get whatever we wanted printed on those. This wall here is 2.8 meters high, or is it 2.4? I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Got all that in our notes as well. So we'll just cover this in some kind of lining so that it looks like the underworld. Kids will be led along here to the first door. Knock, knock, knock. Now each door has a custom or a unique door knocker that hints at what is inside. In this case, I don't have them on the rendering, but we'd be happy to show you pictures of what we've got. The first room here has a door knocker that looks like a steampunk octopus. Yeah, I can't believe we found that. It's crazy. But the kids knock on it. The door is open from within. The door is opening the wrong way. And they see an actress dressed in a mermaid costume. Like a full mermaid costume with a tail and everything, sitting on a pile of treasure in front of a cave backdrop with an undersea location out there. You cannot see it in this rendering because I couldn't figure out how to make it happen in Second Life, but this room will also have a hologram projector in it, which projects a pattern, like an underwater pattern on the roof of her cave and the walls of her cave to make it really look like she's underwater. She also has a helper hiding around the corner here to open the door for her, because obviously she's stuck in a tail so she can't get up. And because mermaids are famous for bewitching people, so the idea is that she has a little friend in here who's helping her out, who is actually a bewitched sailor or something like that. They'll be just a fairly generic costume, like a Greek costume, just to give her a hand. The mermaid looks at the children. She's like, "Oh, they're very cute. Give them a treat." And the servant shuffles over and gives them a treat, and then ushers the children along. So Sharon takes them along to the next door. Whoops. Sorry about that. And they knock on this door, and the door opens to reveal Medusa. Dun dun dun. Now, Medusa is a tragic figure in Greek mythology who's usually considered to be an example of what not to do, because she pissed off the gods, and that's how she got transformed into Medusa. So she will be slouched in her chair, very sad. This may not be the costume that she wears, because that would make it quite difficult for the actress. In many mythological circumstances, Medusa is simply a woman with snakes for hair and a really ugly face, which makes it quite an easy costume for us to replicate. We've even found robotic snakes, which we could use for her hair if we wanted to. The backdrops for her are just a sort of misty forest and an overgrown leafy chair, and she's roof, and she's got a basic chair and table in here. She hands the children a treat, and they move on to the next door. Bum bum bum. Where Pandora is hiding behind the door. Where they open the door to a lovely young woman who is delighted to see them. She is a beautiful woman dressed in Greek robes, and she looks fantastic, lovely in every way. Oh, look at these beautiful children, she goes. You look wonderful. I'm sure I've got something around here somewhere. So she goes over here and she roots around amongst this pile of treasures in the back of the room here. And then she opens this box by mistake, and a terrible light comes out, a terrible shrieking, and then she slams it closed and says, whoops, not that one, and grabs another bowl for the treats. This is, of course, Pandora, famous for Pandora's box. You may not know this, but Pandora's box was most probably actually an urn, but kids won't know that, so we'll figure it out based on what we can find that kind of fits in with the scenario. Then once they've had their treat, they move on to the next door, which is a dryad. Dryads are forest nymphs, protectors of the forest. So her room is all greenery, and it's all greenery pretty much. With we're hoping to make some a table and chairs that kind of look like they're made of forest stumps, wood, just like raw wood. She herself will be dressed as, I don't know if you can see her very well there. This is just a statue I found. She'll be dressed like a forest nymph. And she'll give the children a treat, and then they'll move along to the last door on this side of the hall, which is the Three Fates. Now this is a fun one because it's actually got 3 witches in here. You can't see them obviously because I haven't put them in here. But there'll be 3 ugly witches sitting around a crystal ball going, oh, protect your fate. No, 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 no. And their treat, funnily enough, is fortune cookies, which we have found a supplier of in China, which meets all the standards in New Zealand. So we're going to have some nice little fortune cookies for them to give out. And then the kids will reach what we call the age break, which is, oops, keep going through the wall there, just this end here. This is the point where everything starts getting a little bit more scary. So the kids who are under about the age of 6 or 7 will then be taken back to the start, where Sharon will give them a little bonus treat to make up for the fact they can't go through the rest of the event. But for the older kids, they get to continue forward and test their bravery, crossing the lava bridge, where Hephaestus works on the forge to build the weapons for whoever needs them. And on the other side are even scarier denizens. First of all, they open this door, and it's already open, but they open this door and they see a very scared young man holding a ball of string and a sword. He hushes them and shoves some treats at them and then closes the door quickly, because just as you hear the noise of the Minotaur approaching, he is, of course, Theseus. There will be more bones in the background, by the way. The Minotaur's labyrinth is supposed to be like full of bones from the previous people who were killed by the Minotaur. You never actually see the Minotaur though. We're just going to have a sound projector that generates sounds of stomping and growling in the background, which will save us costs on costuming, because Theseus himself will just be a young man in a Greek robe, which is fairly easy to do. Next room is a bit of a scary one. This will be Arachne. Arachne is famous for, again, annoying the gods and getting transformed into a monster, as is most of the tragic people in Greek mythology. In Arachne's case, she annoyed, I can't remember who she annoyed. I think it was Hera, or might have been Athena. Anyway, she considered herself to be the best at weaving in the whole world, and that of course annoyed the goddess of crafts, who transformed her into a giant spider. So we'll have a lady here dressed as a giant half spider, and we've got a loom in the background that we're making, which will cover in spider webs because she can't weave anymore. She's a spider. She can only weave with one thing, and that is her backside. But she will give the kids a treat, and then they move along to the next one. Dun dun dun. And they open this door and they see a young man in a misty forest, looking desperately lost, with the sound of giggles in the background, girlish giggles, and they don't know where it's coming from. He looks terrified, absolutely terrified. His name is Orpheus. You may be familiar with him. He was a musician who managed to, hey, surprise, surprise, he managed to annoy one of the gods. He betrayed Bacchus, the god of parties, basically, and as a result was torn apart by forest nymphs. Now he is trapped in the underworld, forever tormented by the thoughts of his death, of how he died in the overworld. There's nothing violent that happens here, it's all psychological. It's just sort of dark and he looks scared. But we think that the effect will work really well to give the kids a bit of a spook without costing a fortune. So I think that's quite a good room. I'm pretty pleased with that one. The next one's pretty intense. This one is the Impostor, who is basically a vampire demon. So as you can see, it's quite a gory room with lots of blood splattered. This is just printouts. They are backdrops, cloth backdrops that we've ordered from our printing place. And she'll just be in here. She's a demon, so we're not sure what she'll look like yet. We've given the cosplayer quite free reign over how she wants to make her look. But she'll be in here looking scary, and she'll give the kids a treat, but also be sort of like terrifying at the same time. And after that, the kids move on to the last one, which is the true scare of the evening. A room full of ghosts, real live ghosts. That is holographic ghosts. They open this door, or rather, I should say, the idea is they knock on this door, but nobody opens the door. They can hear a terrible noise from inside, but they're not sure what it is. Sharon looks at them, and Sharon looks back at the door, and Sharon opens the door, and all they see is these ghosts flying around, and then he slams the door shut and goes, maybe we shouldn't go in there after all. Let's just leave that one alone. And then he moves over to here where there will be a table. I haven't put the table out, but there'll be a table here where he can give the kids a final treat to make up for the room where they don't get a treat. But let me show you what this looks like, because this is amazing. We found this online. This is from Atmos FX, and it is a hologram. Just gotta make sure the sound is turned off so it doesn't deafen you guys. There is a link to this in our documentation, but these you project onto a white cloth, like a mosquito net, and it looks like they're floating in mid-air. It is like nothing I have ever seen before. It is so cool. They have actually donated their software to our event, at the moment anyway. So we're getting the software for free. We just have to use a small projector to project it onto the mesh. And it is going to look stunning. The kids are going to be so scared. You can't hear it because I've got the sound switched off, but it does actually come with spooky sound effects as well. So that's going to be fantastic. After that, they move to the end of the event and simply come out the other side, where they can have their photo taken by their parents, or they can simply move off. The event is... We've got a currency for the event. I missed saying this at the beginning, I'm sorry. There is a currency for the event to keep track of numbers that come through here, and also to discourage people from going through it over and over again. We have a little plastic token called a drachmi that we've prepared, or a plastic coin, with our logo on it. And in mythology, in order to cross the river Styx to get into the underworld, you have to give a coin to the ferryman, Sharon. So in order to enter, they have to give a coin to the ferryman. The coins, of course, are either available for purchase at a rate of, they're about worth $2 each, which will hopefully allow us to recoup some of our costs on the event. But they can also be won during events leading up to the event itself, like our art contest, or they can be earned by helping us to prepare for the event. And then they can be reimbursed, spent on going through the trick-or-treating, or on the bouncy castles, or on whatever other treats we can figure out a way to make, or they can hold on to them for next year. Because all of the stuff almost all of the stuff except for the treats themselves, are reusable. So once we've got them, we have got them, and hopefully we won't have to buy them again unless they get ruined, which is always a possibility with a children's event. But we're very hopeful that this will be a really memorable event for the kids, and most importantly, we're hoping it'll be safe. So we really hope that you're willing to help us out. If you have any questions, please feel free to email info@cheekycare.com, or you can phone us from the phone information in our information pack. Thank you for listening.